On July 4th this year, 2 days ago in DC. Very interesting day. It started off hot as blazes. Heat wave hit the East Coast, and in DC, the swamp, it was hot and swampy. 102 on Friday, 103 on Saturday, high humidity, absolutely miserable. I can tell you from experience because I was there walking with my kids, mostly outdoors, 27,000 steps on Friday, and almost that many on Saturday. Absolutely insane. On top of that, a thunderstorm was rolling in at night. Everything seemed to be going haywire. The heat was so bad, they pushed back the opening of the fair from 1 o'clock to 5 o'clock. This threw off everybody's day, many people's plans. But you could understand on there on Friday when it was open at 1, there was multiple ambulances, people passing out. It was crazy. It was very crazy. But then coming into the night, as the storm was rolling in at about 7 o'clock, as I was about to enter the gates to see Trump speak, the concert, the fireworks, they sent us all packing. They said, everybody's got to go. Clear out. We're evacuating. They didn't even tell us why, other than there's a storm coming in. Later, I heard that there was a lightning strike within a mile, and so they decided to close it down. The more I thought about it over the weekend after my experience, the more I believe that this was all coordinated by the city of DC to Mayor Bowser, whoever, but to ruin the crowd for Trump. I really do believe that. As I was there between the fair and the grounds where Trump was speaking, because they were separated by different enclosures. You had to go through different entrances to get into each one. But if you talk about the entire National Mall and everybody who showed up for Saturday's events, we're talking well over 1 million people. I know, I was there. This picture is not a lie that Trump posted. Now, as Trump tweeted out later, he says the crowd at 7 in the evening was 422,000 people. What Trump's talking about is just the crowd to see him and the fireworks. Here's them gathering at the Jefferson Memorial. This is actually outside of the Washington Monument where the gates were. And we were all piling in. And again, I can tell you, I was in that line. I was in one of the entrance lines. And in my entrance line alone, there was easily 100 to 150,000 people. Easily. And that was just one entrance. As I was walking up, I experienced this. So he says a crowd at 7:05 in the evening was 422,000 people. All were forced to leave because of the weather. The event was canceled and everyone was gone because of lightning. This is all true. I was there. They sent us all back. Now, I didn't see any lightning, and there definitely wasn't any rain at that point, a couple drizzles here and there, but nothing serious, nothing scary. We all would have gladly sat through all that. And there were people way ahead of me who were seated at the front, who were turned away and made to leave. They, of course, were very upset, and rightfully so. They did handle it peacefully, but there is some video going around of some abrasiveness. I will tell you what, 99% of the people left. No fights, little frustration, but peacefully. There wasn't any rioting. There wasn't anything crazy. We all turned away. Now, we were confused. At this point, there was a major, and I think a psyop, because I was on X trying to get updates. I was coordinating with people I know in the area, as well as watching X, being like, what is happening? What is the deal? Is Trump canceled? Are the fireworks canceled? Well, the real news finally broke about a half hour later, saying there's a postponement. But during that time, all over X, everything was coming out. Fireworks canceled, fireworks canceled, fireworks canceled. Bots were pushing it out there like crazy. It was very clear they were trying to get us all to leave for good. Many of us stayed. We waited it out. We waited to see what would happen. I was one of those with my kids. As Trump writes here, when I heard it was canceled, I immediately overturned that decision and waited a while for people to come back. Incredibly, at least 150,000 people returned. Again, I can confirm this. I was there. I was one of those who returned with my kids. We were walking in, the crowd, and my kids will tell you this. I said at the time, it feels like about 40%, 30 to 40% of what it was, which we were trying to be encouraged by, meaning that we'd get better seats. So again, we got into line. It moved much faster this time. We got back up to the front, and this time it just stopped. We stopped moving. Now, let me read Trump's thing, and I'll tell you more about what I experienced. It says, and it was even more spectacular evening than it would have been normalized. That's Trump spinning it, which I don't blame him. It showed work under pressure. Congrats to the Secret Service and law enforcement being able to get so many people back in the arena in such rapid fashion. It was an amazing evening, made even more spectacular by the fact that immediately after the great fireworks ended, the rains came down full blast. That is all true. So we got up to the front, and it stopped. And the line wouldn't move anymore. I waited 20 minutes, talked to some National Guardsmen, and all they said was, we don't know why they're not letting anybody else in, but it's stopped. They haven't told us anything. So I had to make a decision at that point. Do I just continue waiting outside, or do I go try to find a spot with my kids to try to see Trump? So we decided to do that. And of course, it didn't open up again. This Washington Monument, if you haven't been to the mall, there was a seating area that was full, and they had already let in way more people in the first time. Okay. When I was first up there, way more people were in at that point. This time they let far fewer people in and closed it off. It made no sense unless it was on purpose, unless they were on purpose trying to keep Trump's crowd down. That's the only thing that makes sense. Again, the National Guard had nothing to tell us. The police didn't have any answers for us, except that they'd stopped letting people in. See, the Park Service is in control of all this, and the Park Service and the DC police and all this, they could easily coordinate this against Trump if they wanted to. And I think they were trying to get him to cancel the speech, but he is a force of nature and push through. And so that's I believe that they were trying to get Trump's entire thing canceled. But the miracle is this: Trump got out there, he spoke, and then the fireworks went off, and they were absolutely spectacular. And then the rain did come down right after. Now, here's a little glimpse of what the crowds were like. This is a little video. Look at that line going back there. Okay, so when they're trying to say, and now for reference point, guys, this is one spot with an entrance. There were multiple entrances. There were two sides. You had to go completely around the mall to be on both sides. This was on both sides. The lines were stretching down several blocks. When they finally let us through the barricades, it was a line that was, I'm not even joking, probably 50 people across, and many thousands of people front to back. And it might have even been more than 50 people across. It might have been 75. My point is it was massive when they finally let us in the barricades. But this is true. I mean, I'm telling you, at over 1 million people. Over 1 million people. Easy. So this is exactly what happened. Now, by the end of the night, when people were returning, there were issues with the metro. They said they were overwhelmed, not ready for so many people. There were serious traffic incidents. It was taking people an hour and a half to get out of the city. The I-95 had a wreck that completely closed it down for almost 2 hours. You couldn't move through, and they didn't even open up a lane. All of this was coordinated to make us absolutely miserable. I really do believe that. Not saying the crash was coordinated, but the fact that they wouldn't open up a lane for over an hour and a half, I believe that's all coordinated. I believe everything that went on in the city that night was on purpose to make us all feel like we should never have shown up. This was a complete failure. And the reason why I think this is not just because July 4th is because I was also there on Inauguration Day when it was freezing. And they canceled the outdoor inauguration. All of those people had shown up to watch Trump outside to speak. They canceled it. They lied about the crowds on January 6th. This is a normal thing for Trump events. They lie and they make it miserable over and over and over again because they don't want you to understand how supported President Trump is and how big the MAGA movement is. I truly believe that with all my heart. And as he says here, don't let anyone fool you. I was there. DC failed the people tonight. When it was delayed, none of the officers showed back up to check people in except for one location. Metro Police, Secret Service, nor my beloved Army knew what the F was going on and sent everyone in a million different directions. This is all true. In fact, at one point, they even separated me from my son. My son, who is just a couple people back from me in the line, when they started turning us off, they forced him and this crowd to go a different direction than us, and it took us about half an hour to get back together. Says, I walked 3.5 miles between 10 to 12 before I found it, and there were too many people to make it back in. Good news is people came back. Bad news, half the Americans who wanted to be there saw nothing but the back of each other's heads. I would say 80% of the Americans who wanted to be there saw nothing but the back of each other's heads. I would say it's much higher. They'll blame Trump, but this was on the city most unorganized event I've ever been to. And he's right. Once the storm started coming in, it was awful. He's showing his mileage here and his steps. We walked easily, as much, not more than he did, with kids. I was with my 11-year-old, 13-year-old, 16-year-old, and 18-year-old, and they were troopers, man. But to do this, to make my 11-year-old do this, I was mad. I was angry. Obviously not at Trump. It's not his fault. I understand that. But I understand politics. I understand how this all works. I pay attention to this stuff. Many people don't. I didn't notice, though, too many people getting that frustrated at, in a way to like F Trump, stuff like that. There was a couple people, but not that many. Considering how many people and what they put us through, I think that's kind of a miracle. And it shows just how amazing it all was. Now, the lies are everywhere. So they've been lying today. My son came in to me this morning and said, hey, Dad, everywhere I'm looking, they're saying that the crowd was super small. He's like, I can't believe it. I'm watching all these people lie. And I said, that's what they do, son. I said, you are witnessing. You've just experienced in person your own psyop. And he kind of smiled and said, whoa, that's crazy. I was like, yeah, this is what they do. They lie. And now you're living it. You're actually watching it in real time, this lie. And he's like, I just can't believe they're saying they're saying about the crowds. And I was like, I know, but now you know. Now you've lived it, and you can tell your friends that too. But here's another example of the lies. This is about the reflecting pool, which was shut down while I was there, but there was a reason for it, as Burgum. But this is what Dana Bash and CNN's trying to push.
I was reporting about the pro-Hamas graffiti on the.
Mr. Secretary, you and I talked about this last month.
Yeah, and we're still talking about it.
Well, because it was July 4th and the reflecting pool was closed.
It was closed because it's surrounded by fireworks. It's closed every year on the 4th of July.
But it was closed prior to that in order to fix the reflecting pool.
But it was closed because the largest fireworks display in the country we talked about was set up, and it lines either side of the reflecting pool. You can't have people around fireworks when they're being set up. Now that the fireworks will come down, the fence will come down. The fence was there because of the fireworks.
You see the lies? They close the reflecting pool, and to which he replies, they always close it down on the 4th because of the fireworks. And we saw it. We looked over this reflecting pool, and you could see all the fireworks bags. It was wild, and the fireworks display was fantastic. It really was. But with all this going on, there was an all-out assault in so many ways. Here's another psyop that happened. They sent Patriot Front, this SPLC-funded, Fed-backed group from the Biden FBI. They sent them in to July 4th.
LA looks just like
with all their masks, scaring people in D.C., making them think the white supremacists are here. Yeah, they sent them in too.
You're doing good. You're doing good.
They even got my wife to write me and say, like, this is scary, honey. Watch out. And I was like, honey, that's the Patriot Front. They're nothing. That's nothing to be scared of. They're just trying to screw everybody up. They're trying to throw everybody off and freak us out. But it was all out war on this whole July 4th thing, an all out psyop war. It's just insane. Absolutely insane. And you had states that backed out. Now, this is an incredible story right here where Governor Shapiro didn't even create a booth for Pennsylvania, but Fetterman and McCormick got together and did it, the two senators, which congrats to Fetterman, the Democrat, for doing this. So there were people who, this to me is a sign of good things coming. So when they were trying to make the event a disaster, there's even some on the Democratic side who are starting to come through and say, no, this is about America. And as it turns more and more communist, the Democratic Party gets more communist, we're going to see more and more defections like this. So the fair was amazing. There were booths for each state. It was incredible, but some Democrat states didn't show up, which tells you, where we're at. It gives you a great example where we're at, where the Democrats are at. Now, here's a little more on how Trump pushed through, and it was kind of incredible. Listen to Brett Baer quoting what the president told him when they tried to cancel the event.
Trump, he said, those veterans had to go through bad weather on D-Day. I'm going through bad weather. No matter what happens, I am delivering this speech. We are going to do this program. Maybe it'll be a little bit shorter, but I'm going to do it, whether it's 10 or 11 or 2 a.m. And I said, Mr. President, there might not be anybody here. He said, I don't care. It's America 250. If they can storm the beaches of D-Day, on D-Day, I can deliver a speech and we can keep this program going. Now, he said, you got to be safe. You got to make sure everybody's okay. But he thinks that he is going to do this speech. Trump.
I think Trump knew that they were trying to stop him. They were trying to postpone the events, cancel it, 250, and he wouldn't be stopped. Now, I got to say, one thing that was cool to experience was my kids being so disappointed that the Trump speech was going to be canceled. They really wanted to see him. They got to see that Trump, amidst it all, because I showed them his Truth Social post when he declared he was coming back out. I got to show them how he's not a quitter. And I got to say, they all earned a little more respect for him right then. My kids are young. They're still learning a lot. They don't follow politics as closely as I do. And sometimes they're wondering about my fascination. But they fought through. He fought through and delivered. And he talked about it a little bit in a press conference this morning.
Tremendous crowds. We had the biggest crowd anyone's ever seen that unfortunately lightning caused it to leave. And everybody said, well, we'll do it another time. When I heard that, I said, no, we won't. Everybody had left. I said, we're not doing it another time. We're doing it on the 4th of July. And we actually started the speech on the 4th of July. We had to wait a little while, like a couple of hours, let the lightning pass. And everyone had left. And we came back, and they had 150,000 people came back they took their car. They're going back home to Texas. They turned their car around and came back. You wouldn't believe it, 150. I think the 150 was more impressive than the 425 or whatever it was. It was pretty amazing.
Proud to have been part of that crew that stayed, as Trump said. Now, but this is what they did end up pulling off, and it was spectacular. Unfortunately, I didn't get into this. Now, if you look, this is the crowd of all the people who could sit, and that's all they allowed, when there would have been standing room for tens of thousands more. They could have fit us all easily, but this is how they diminished the crowd size. But regardless, they still were able to put some stuff off. You can see, look at those fireworks. They say it's the biggest fireworks display ever set off anywhere. It was incredible, folks. I don't even know how else to say it. There was a World War II monument, but they did it. They went all out, and Trump blasted it out. I mean, and again, what's incredible is the storm stopped during this time, except for the lightning started picking up, which I saw, again, from my spiritual lens, like my faith perspective, I saw that as a God thing, because it was powerful. You saw the fireworks going off, and then you saw lightning strike it amidst the fireworks. It was incredible, including one strike that looked like it hit the Washington Monument. And you could take that to mean whatever you want. To me, it seemed like a storm was coming. And then here's the most incredible part. As Trump already said, but I was there, as soon as the fireworks stopped, and I'll tell you, I was watching the fireworks from on top of a hill with my kids. The fireworks ended. We all applauded. We turned around to walk back to get out of D.C., and as soon as we turned around, started walking, the rain started dumping. It literally started. It was almost as if it was held off until the moment. And I do think that was divine. I think there was a divine symbolism there that it was held off. But regardless, just incredible stuff. As Nick Sorter reports, Breaking, it's official. United States of America has broken the world record for largest fireworks show in history. Best fireworks show ever. 47 Melania spot watching the entire thing. 850,000 shells. Isn't that crazy? Last year, they only did 20,000. That's insane, folks. That's insane. Here's another angle. I mean, you can just... And there was a stage from where Trump spoke. We ushered in the 250th in the right way. We truly did. It was amazing. Here's a picture of just the Lincoln Memorial when it was lit up at some point. I mean, I'm telling you guys, we went off on this. It was very, very amazing. And this is the kind of thing that I love. So this is LA. In Los Angeles, it's illegal to set fireworks off. And yet the people rose up. See, this is the spirit of patriotism sweeping the nation again. Look at this in Los Angeles. Against the city's wishes, they set this all off. Isn't that incredible? So things are changing. Things are picking up back in our country. He's bringing us back. And then this is what they wanted, I believe, to stop. So here's Trump, and here's a 5-minute segment of his speech. But I want to go through a little bit here because at this speech, remember, this is the July 4th speech. This is getting, by the time this is done, it's going to have millions and millions of views. It's this clip right here already has 2 million views. Trump came out and basically announced, we're taking on communism. This is war. And I believe this was an announcement to those of us who've been paying attention that it's out in the open now. The communists, as we'd call them, deep state, city of London, it's all that system, right? And then this is where we're watching them come up in the Democratic Party. Trump openly declared war on them in this speech. This is what they were trying to stop.
Yet as we approach this magnificent anniversary, we see our American identity under a renewed attack. A generation after we fought and won the Cold War against the menace of communism, there is now a resurgence of the communist menace in our land, including from newcomers to our country who embrace ideas totally opposed to our way of life and our great success. These are not mere political disagreements like differences over taxes or regulations. Communism is a mortal threat to American liberty. It is the greatest threat to our country, including World War I, World War II, Pearl Harbor, or even 9/11. We're not going to let this happen to us. Believe me, we're not letting it happen. Because communism is the enemy of free people everywhere in the world. Never works. It's the enemy of the Constitution. Above all, it's the enemy of July 4th, 1776. It is the enemy indeed. Even while the radicals and extremists attack our incredible history at every turn, they are silent on the miserable history of communism itself because it never worked. Thousands of years, if you look at it, under different names, under somewhat different ideologies and systems, that system has led to more death and destruction than any system ever tried. It killed 100 million people just in the last century alone. Communism is the exact opposite of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. It's death, tyranny, and the pursuit of evil. The godless communist.
Did you hear that? It's death, tyranny, and the pursuit of evil. Oh man, he goes for it here, and it's incredible.
This morality states that anything is justified to bring about inhuman visions and to really propose what's good. They don't want good. They don't love God, and they don't want God. They don't love religion, and they don't want religion, and they won't have it. But we will not let them win. They have no chance against us. They have no respect for law,
no chance against
justice, principle, tradition, or your God-given rights. It's an ideology of mass theft, mass control, mass lies, and mass murder. Such doctrines can be given no quarter in a democracy because the first thing they do when they get into power is turn around and destroy it. It always is destroyed. just as communists have done in other countries all over the world, no matter where you look. Very simply, communism represents the worst ideas and abuses in history by the worst people. The American founding represents the best ideas and traditions in history by the best people like you. You can be loyal to Karl Marx, or you can be loyal to America.
Ooh, what
you
a
can
statement.
be a communist, or you can be a patriot. You cannot be both. As for those who peddle Marxist lies about our heritage, who tell our children that we live on stolen land or that our heroes were oppressors, they're doing something much worse than slandering our past. They are slandering and attacking our future. Not going to let that happen. They're trying to tear down the great American character, to destroy the people who declared independence, who crossed the Delaware, who settled the West, and conquered the skies. You know who those people are. But we will never let that happen. Our American ancestors did not shed their blood at Concord and Trenton, Gettysburg and Shiloh, Midway and Normandy, just so that a band of thieves, radicals, and lunatics could come in and loot, pillage our nation. Our heroes died to win, build, and to save, and to build truly a great country, the greatest country ever in the world.
This is incredible.
So on the eve
July 4th.
of this 250th anniversary of American heritage, we resolve and swear for all to hear that the citizens of the United States of America will vanquish communism quickly. Don't let them take too much of your time. You know they're wasting your time, don't you? But we're not going to let them take too long or too much of our time as they play their games and send them into exile. We will send them quickly away, and we will continue to build our country bigger and better and stronger than ever before. America will never be a communist country.
There it is. There it is, guys. There's the declaration. We'll never be a communist country. And they doubled down on it at the White House. They posted this. That more after the speech, you can be a communist or you can be a patriot. You cannot be both. Man, incredible stuff. This, you can see it, you can feel it, right? Trump reposted this story. A holy war against communism has begun. And Trump shares this from Town Hall. Trump declares holy war on communism in his latest speech. Holy war. Guys, we're living through history right now. Right now. Can you see it? There's a reason he got all this together. None of this is by mistake. This timing is not by mistake. As the communists are taking over the Democratic Party right now, openly, they're showing us who they've always been, but they're finally being honest. At the same time, Trump is directly targeting taking it out. And he's also messaging to all of us, we're not going to let them win. We're not going to let them win. Beautiful stuff. Stephen Miller wrote this on the morning of July 4th. It's impossible to review the events of the last decade and conclude it's anything other than divine providence. Donald J. Trump's the president of the United States on the year of America 250, July 4th. I completely agree with that. And, looking forward, we got to, this is, they've done a great job of trying to bring us back to our roots, trying to explain America, bring back that spirit. The spirit of Thomas Jefferson is, I prefer dangerous freedom over peaceful slavery. Absolutely. You guys feel that in your bones when it's said? Well, you should, because you're American. And I'm telling you, the American spirit within us is indomitable. It cannot be broken. It will not be broken. As Scott Adams, I want to end this segment with this. Scott Adams, who we miss so deeply, one of the true people speaking wisdom in this time to millions of people. But Scott right here is going to break down what I believe Donald Trump believes and why one of the reasons I am so optimistic about the future. See, this July 4th, they tried to ruin our 250th in DC, as I've communicated to you guys. They're running these psyops about the event that are just simply not true to misrepresent how big a deal this was, what Trump pulled off was, to distract from the words of his speech, from the message that we are fighting communism and we will defeat them, that we are going to win this amidst a storm, a hit on DC. If you're dooming at this point, I don't know what to say to you. America's not going away. Our best time is yet ahead. And here, as Scott's about to communicate, is one of the reasons I have so much faith in our country.
One of the things we're deeply wired by our system to appreciate is freedom. We've got 370 million wired, coded, brainwashed, designed, whatever word you want to put on it, human brains that aren't going to put up with that kind of crap. We're going to change things. We're going to change our government. So there is no risk in the United States because the citizens are so well designed. I mean, it's actually design. It's brain design, if you want to put it that way. So we are so well designed in this country that our government couldn't take our, at least an important civil liberty away any longer than the reason for doing it remained. Now, you could argue whether the reason has remained, and that will always be a gray area, but it won't be some sign of approaching evil. One of the things we're deeply...
I completely agree with this. And Scott, you know, I studied this years ago, how a people tend to, take something into their DNA and become that. And it only takes something extremely radical to change it. It's why democracy didn't work in the Middle East when we were forcing it upon people. It was just not in their DNA to want that. Those people, many of them want an authoritarian government over them. They want Sharia law. They don't want democracy, at least not an American way. This stuff, you cannot force a people to change. People have it in their DNA. In America, we have liberty in our DNA. It's how we were founded. If you're going to defeat us, you're going to have to do it from the outside, and you're going to have to take us down. That's not going to happen, as Trump's proven with hard power. It's still encoded into us. All these people who declare they want to be socialist, they want to be communist. I guarantee you, if it got oppressive enough, those people got in charge, many of those people who are too retarded and stupid and ignorant to know what they're actually voting for, they would change once they realize all their rights are taken away. It would happen. That's why they try to subvert us for so long. But guess what? Just like an immune system that noticed something deeply wrong was happening, we repelled it. We brought Trump in. And part of that was divine. I believe it. I think it was an answer to prayer. I believe God had ordained it. He set it up for us. But the people still had to accept it. The people still had to say yes. And we did. We've repelled it. And now we have... Trump is that white blood cell that, and he's leading those white blood cells to eradicate this communist sickness from our body, our nation's body. He is. And that it's a deep state system. It's a City of London system that's been orchestrated to take us out. But they're failing. And we put in the one person who could repel it at this point with his team, with knowing how to lead, how to build the momentum, the movement needed to get rid of it. And this is why I'm not worried going forward. I think this July 4th, everything they pulled off, I was there. Remember, I was there. I experienced it firsthand. Everything they tried to do tells me they are in full on panic. And quite literally, this July 4th, a storm was announced as being here. Quite literally. And I think that means moving forward, things are about to accelerate very quickly. And I think the winning is about to really ramp up. The way they acted proves it to me that they know it. The question is, do we? No more blackpilling, no dooming, guys. It's time to get to work. And if we all get to work, we are going to destroy them. We are going to wipe them out. And we're going to get our country on the right track for a long time moving forward.